Well, I'll be honest with you, Andreas. I completely forgot I still had an active Cameo account. It's been so long since I've done one of these videos that I didn't have the app on my phone anymore because I've changed my phone. And the email address where requests go through, I don't really look at because it's one I use for spam. You know, when you sign up for things that you want and it's like, hey, if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll give you 20% discount. And yeah, so that's the account I use. So I don't really check it that much. Luckily I did, and luckily I saw your Cameo, otherwise you'd be really upset with me. And, you know, you want a pep talk, which we're going to get to. We're going to get to it, don't worry. But it actually came through the other day and I saw it and I was like, oh, I must get on with that. It's got to be done by such and such date. And I kind of put it to the back of my mind because I thought, well, I'm in the middle of finishing a book. I want to finish that. And I want to finish this other story that I'm working on. And I'm trying to edit a film together, which I've kind of given myself a deadline for this week. And time just disappeared. Next thing I know, I'm getting a message from Cameo going, hey, it's going to expire in an hour. And I'm like, fuck. So I dragged my ass out of bed. You know, it's just gone 8 o'clock in the morning. I normally sleep until about anywhere between 9 till 12, depending on what day it is and how tired I am. So I dragged my ass out of bed. The house is like a fucking ice cube because I don't have any loft installation. So if I put the heating on, it just disappears straight out the roof. So there's no point putting heating on because why am I going to pay to heat outside? So normally I'm sitting here in like a hoodie and an oodie. Sometimes when it's really cold, I put 2 oodies on. You know, if my wife's home, right, I'll put the heating on because there's more than one of us in the house. But as it is, it's just me and the dog. The dog's got her own oodie anyway. And if she's cold, I'll put that on her. Otherwise, she just cuddles in with me all day anyway and sleeps while I work. So I'm like, why would I heat the house when it's just me and the heat's going to vanish? But yeah, if my wife's home, I'll put the heating on. Thankfully, she's off tomorrow, so I'll crank the heating up to like, I don't know, 70 degrees. Anyway, that's enough of a ramble. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm sorry this is like cutting it close to the deadline, but time got away from me and I blinked and suddenly I'm at the bloody deadline. But what you wanted a pep talk. What's the reason for the pep talk? And this is you, by the way. I have written 20 books in the horror and thriller genre so far. I'm currently about frustrated and sleep deprived. I needed some motivation to keep going. As I said, I have written 20 books. Horror, thrillers, psychological horror. My most successful book was... Why would I read it out? And then it's just a fucking blatant advert for you, isn't it? You cheeky bastard. No, I'll read it out. My most successful... That was you, that was. My most successful book was Whispering the Devil, about true crime in England in the 90s. James Bolger. My great role model is Jack Ketchum, and a little bit you too. A little bit. Well, fuck you too, Andreas. Fuck you too. Would Jack, or Dallas, would he do a cameo for you? Probably not now, but back in the day, would he? Yeah, he probably would, to be fair. He seemed like a nice guy. Is it James Bolger or Jamie Bolger? Or did they use both in the British media? For people that stumble across this, because I see you've set it to public, for people that stumble across this, James, or Jamie, was this little kid that was basically snatched from a shopping centre by 2 kids. And they took him down to the rail tracks and tortured him and ended up killing him. And as a result, the film Braindead and Child's Play 3 were banned instantly in England. You couldn't get them for years. Braindead because of the scene in the park when Lionel, I think his name was, the main character, kicks the shit out of the zombie baby. And then Child's Play 3 because they go paintballing and they end up putting paint in someone's eyes, which is what they did to this poor little kid as well. So yeah, I wouldn't write about that. I can see why it's successful because people are morbidly into that kind of thing. I can't remember how old I was at the time. I think I was like in my teens. I would have been in my teens, probably mid-teens, because I wanted to watch Child's Play 3 and I really struggled to get hold of it. In fact, yeah, I was probably about 15 or 16, but I found it quite shocking, you know, the news that they did this to this kid. Nowadays, I just blink and I'm like, yeah, well, of course they did, because look at the world. It's a fucking shit world out there. Anyway, you want a pep talk? You've written 20 books in horror and thriller genre so far. Well done. That's not patronising. Well done. It takes a lot to write. A lot of people write their first book and then they get stuck on their first book because they keep then editing their first book or changing things or adding plot details to the point of it. They get tangled and then they hate it and delete it and start again. One guy I've known for over a decade, he has been writing the same book for a decade. And basically he writes and writes and writes and deletes it, then writes and writes and writes and deletes it. And I've always said to people, just write the fucking book. It doesn't matter if it's dog shit, write it. Then when it's written, then you can go back and worry about it. But just write it. By writing it, you immediately give yourself that little confidence boost. I can do this. Now you've proven you can do it, go back and hone the craft. Most people ignore that advice, by the way. It's weird. I actually do one-to-one writing classes. People just email me up and it's on my store. You can buy like a trial lesson or one lesson or a block book, 8 lessons. And during that time, we actually get the people's work published for them and get them on their way so they know what they're doing. And the amount of times I give people like all these tips and tricks that worked for me, that have given me my career, and they still decide to ignore it. And I'm like, well, fuck me. If you're going to ignore it and go your own way, fair enough. You do you, Bob. You do you. But you can't say things aren't working if you're not giving it a try. And I don't see why people would ask for advice just to ignore it and then try something else that, even on paper, doesn't sound like a good idea. One person, they were doing lessons with me and they were like, what I'm going to do... Dog, can you fuck off doing that? Can you hear a clawing at the bloody sofa? Come here. One person on my classes, they were like, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write my book. I was like, that's a good start, mate. A good start. And then I'm going to piss off TikTok. I pissed off TikTok last year. I don't know if you saw it, but it was a whole fucking hoo-ha. And it was really quite tragic, because what it actually kicked it off was so minute and inconsequential. It just wasn't important in the great scheme of things. Basically, I put a book dedication to someone in a book. Months later, they found out and they were upset at me. And basically, the dedication was, you can't be dictating what others do and don't read or write. Only Nazis dictate. And that got translated into me calling them a Nazi. It got translated into me flying into their country and stalking them before being arrested. Basically, it got translated into a whole load of different things. Everyone was taking this story and adding their own elements. And I think the main one that stuck now is I did this because they wrote me a bad review. Fuck me, if I went after people that wrote me a bad review, I'd never have time for writing. Have you not seen my bad reviews? I have quite the collection. Also, there's no such thing as a bad review. When I do my conventions, my banner, it actually has my bad reviews published on the banner. People come up to the table and they're like, what's this about? And I'm like, well, actually, this is about that book. And then they buy it because they want to see what could be so shit about this book. And it's a great sales technique. Anyway, that's by the by. You want a pep talk because you've done 20 books. I'm guessing it's not going brilliantly for you. You've had a successful book, or rather your most successful book was Whispering the Devil. But if you're getting frustrated and sleep deprived and need motivation to keep going, keep this in mind. It took me a lot of books published before I actually managed to leave my job and do this full time. And now I'm in the full-time pattern. I've been doing it for, I think, about 11, 12 years now. And that really was fluke. I had the book Sick Bastards that hit the crowd at the right time because extreme horror was very quiet on Amazon. It wasn't really a thing. And when I wrote that, it kind of hit this audience that was waiting for this kind of thing. Or they'd previously read it in paperback format, when people like John Skipp were doing it years before, and even Ralph James White. But then when Kindle came along, it was like extreme horror didn't really jump onto the platform immediately. And then it shocked people, so then they couldn't get enough, and then suddenly you've got loads of black cover books like the ones I brought out with their warnings all over the thing. And some people are having luck with the writing because people think, oh my god, it's another extreme horror, whoop, and they buy it, and then they realize, oh, this is just thrown together crap. Not saying that my work is literary genius, by the way. I can tell a story, but I'm not a good author. There's much better authors out there. I think I'm a great storyteller. So I'm the perfect person to sit down with at a campfire because I can tell you a story. But yeah, there's much better authors out there. But some of the new extreme horrors back in the day when Sick Bastards first came out, they were literally thrown together random scenes of extreme violence and gore, which the audience doesn't want. They want a story to go with it. Otherwise, it's just boring. But yeah, that's what got the book going got my career going. It was just the right time, the right place, a lot of luck. And I know that's not what people want. They want to know this magic formula, but the formula really is keep working. But what I will say is if you're sleep deprived, you're not going to help yourself anyway. I took myself a little part-time job, for example. So on the weekends, I go to a warehouse and I move cages around, lift heavy stock. And I basically work my ass off from 10 o'clock at night through to 6 in the morning. The reason being, every other day I'm sitting on my arse doing fuck all and I'm getting more and more unfit. I had a lot of health problems, so I was like, oh shit, you know what? I need to get this sorted. So I thought, yeah, why join a gym? Why would I pay £60 a month to join a gym when I could just go and work in a warehouse and get paid X amount of money to do so? It's like, it's 2 nights out of my week. So I still work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, I tend to do a bit of an admin day because my brain's a bit tired from, getting in at 6 in the morning. I get in at 6 in the morning, nap until about 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, get up and then work through to 10 o'clock and then go to bed. But when I'm sleep deprived, when it all does catch up with me and I am just too tired, like now, for example, I've just finished TikTok. I've just finished Titanic, and I finished To Face the Fears, and I feel a little bit burnt out. And then doing the job as well and filming stuff, I'm tired. So the worst thing I can do is sit down and actually properly write anything. Short stories are fine because they don't take much thought on my part. But novellas or anything a little bit more complicated, like To Face the Fears, was a novel. It's not worth it because I just get myself frustrated. So when you are sleep deprived, all I would say is literally just crash out on your sofa, man. Have a little nap. Put some crap on the television. Enjoy yourself for a few days. Because if you are in that mindset where you feel ultra tired, you're not going to be writing your best anyway. You're going to get yourself caught up in circles with random little bits that you're trying to do. You're going to frustrate yourself. And when you frustrate yourself, you're going to start thinking all the negative feelings come through. I can't do this. I can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, you're stuck in a rut and depression sets in. So when you're sleep deprived, it is important that you take yourself for a little walk. You rest on the sofa. You put crap on the TV and just nap and just enjoy life for a little bit. Just take the foot off the gas. Nothing is going to change in those couple of days where you're resting. Right? It's not suddenly you're not going to be missing out on writing your masterpiece, because as soon as you feel rested, you'll start writing again. So you're not delaying anything. If anything, you're saving yourself, because there is nothing worse than burning out. And I'm sure you already know that. You've written 20 books. I'm sure you know that when you've written some books, at the end of it, you're like, phew, I am fucking done. It's very rare these days I actually jump from book to book to book. I can do it, but like when I do 2-3 novellas in a row after that, I am fucked. And then I kind of sink into a bit of a depression because I feel like I can't write anymore. I'm tired and I just switch off. But yeah, the important thing is rest up. Stay hydrated as well, because, you're a man and kidney stones suck. I had them last year. Rest up, stay hydrated, make sure you're sleeping as best as you can. And if you can't, here's a blatant advert for you. These CBD gummies are fucking great. They've got the THC removed, so they're not something that can get you stoned or anything like that. But they just, at night, they help me switch my brain off. And I'm just like, that's nice. and then you can fall asleep a lot easier. I do kind of wake up a little bit groggy from them sometimes, so I normally stay in bed for about 40 minutes scrolling videos and things. Sometimes I have a wank, you know, I'm a guy. So yeah, get some of those if you're not sleeping properly. But if you're sleep deprived, I think you'll be sleeping just fine if you just stop for a little bit. I hope some of this has been useful to you. We are coming up to 15 minutes, which means I will get cut off soon. Good luck with your books, and keep going. Because, I mean, if you've done 20 books, clearly you've got a passion for it. And the most important thing is passion. People that write to make money or earn a living from it are the suckers. They're not the real writers. They're people that are just living in dream world. And unfortunately, in this particular industry, that is a very hard dream to accomplish. Take me, for example. I was very lucky. There's writers out there who are a million times better than I am. And they are still working full-time jobs just because they haven't had the same luck to get into the mainstream. If you get stuck for ideas or need anything else, do go on YouTube and put in "So You Want to Be a Writer." I put like a 45-minute video on there talking about all things writing. Heads up though, throughout the whole video I was drinking white wine, so as the video gets on I do get more and more pissed. But you know, hopefully you'll find some more tips and tricks and little bits of inspiration there to keep you going as well. And don't worry, it is free to watch. Right, anyway, thanks Andreas for booking his cameo. I hope some of that's helped. To everyone else, his most successful book is Whispering the Devil, true crime in England in the 90s. It is a horrible case, so if you like that kind of thing, do give it a read. Yeah, stay well.